Okay. Chiefs Kingdom, welcome in to the AP Breakdown. Another edition, probably the saddest edition I've ever done of any AP related video content, audio content in Chiefs Kingdom. But let's get you introduced into the show. Thank you for joining me tonight. Even if you're not joining live, thank you for watching the show. And if you are live, definitely let me know how my audio is. Got a new mic, trying to be more professional for the people. And shout out Daniel Barris. Daniel Barry, as always, in the comments on YouTube. Happy Tuesday. What's up to you, my friend? I am Ron Kopp Jr., the contributing editor at arrowheadpride.com, and I try to do this every Tuesday and I will throughout the off season. We're not finished here, folks. The meaningful games may be done, but we are not here on the show, and I will hope to get more guests with me. I've just been riding solo for most of this time, and hopefully can get someone to join me in my ramblings. But thank you for joining me tonight. I will tell you, this will be the last show evaluating solely the pass offense. Moving forward, you can expect shorter, one-off breakdowns, more often actually, of anything right or wrong about our Chiefs. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. It could be the run game, could be the four-man pass rush, could be blitzing, could be individual performances in pass protection and pass coverage. It could be anything. It could be, and it is going to be the draft. We're us in the Slack chat today. We're already talking draft, talking prospects. We're going to be previewing some of the college football playoff games coming up by looking at guys that could fit the Chiefs potentially and be drafted in the spring. So be on the lookout for that. Chiefs coverage is nowhere near over. And hey, between you and me, no one's listening to this, right? Between you and me, as an analyst, as someone that has gotten a passion to truly cover the team instead of just be a fan, these are the fun times. Because if you point out something and you're critical, you aren't met with, you don't know what you're talking about as much, or, why even point that out? We're winning, or, why be critical of that? Hey, there's reason to be critical. There's reason to analyze the team. There's reason to dive in depth and look at what this team can be better at from the roster, from how the play is being on the field in terms of how it's being played out, how it's being executed. And today I'll be doing more of the same in terms of looking at the Chiefs pass offense specifically, and pointing out some things that just make me really hope we get some change by the time we see Patrick Mahomes back on the field, which definitely buried the lead, but we're not going to talk much about that. You guys know what the situation is. Really hoping for a quick recovery. I mean, my God, he got a surgery the day after his injury. I think that tells you all you need to know. That's all you need to hear if you're worried about how, I don't know why anyone in Chiefs Kingdom will be worried about how Patrick Mahomes attacks his rehabilitation, but it has already started. And so shout out Patrick Mahomes for that. But let's get into the Chargers game specifically tonight. That is going to be all I'm covering in terms of the Chiefs pass game from the Chargers game. And let me make sure I get the right camera angle. There we go for the people. And so we are going to be looking at, I have a lot of these plays are just circling a certain defender on the field, a Chargers defender. And I think I want to, and I'll maybe just let this play run out as I talk, so you guys have something to see as I give you a quick explainer of my problems with the Chiefs offense. I do think Andy Reid needs to be trusted. I trust that he still has that innovation gene in him, right? We used to be such an innovative offense. We used to be at the forefront, proactive in terms of, what needs to happen in terms of attacking modern defenses. And we just haven't been this season. And I think it really starts with who is in that room getting the offense put together and putting it out there. Because I think you have the personnel you saw. I mean, in my opinion, I still think we had a really good group of receivers. I think they maybe haven't been coached up well enough. And maybe they're not as good as some of us have propped them up to be. But I think one of the main points of emphasis with what's wrong with this Chiefs pass offense is it's predictable. And defenses, especially ones that have played you before, or just veteran defenses that are good, right? The Texans, Chargers, Broncos, Bills, even just because they played you a lot. The teams that know them or just are good on defense, have a viable, a top 15, 10 defense instead of one of the bottom tier ones. they seem to know what's coming a lot. And even guys like Patrick Mahomes' trainer on Twitter, Bobby Strope, said that. I mean, he kind of point blank said the reason Rashee Rice got blown up a few times on Sunday is because the team knew what was coming. The Chargers knew what was coming. So that's kind of just to preface this whole breakdown tonight, is kind of just, you saw that throughout the film. Now here's just an example of a bad play call, because I put the circle on this defender. He's technically the curl defender in this kind of defensive setup, where he's going to have these intermediate zones, and it's hook and curl. A lot of times, a defender can be trusted to do both at the same time, but in this situation, he's kind of more specifically in the curl. There's someone kind of playing that hook, behind him. And basically my point being, he has nothing taking him away from being in the way of Rashee right here. And this guy has nothing telling him not to close in on that route. And so my point being is, what is this play call? Mahomes is rolling out designed, it looks like. It appears to be, right? They have Kareem leading it to the edge, and he wants to get outside of that pocket, but the edge fights really hard. That's Tua Pelotu. Not Tua, whatever his first name is. Tuli. There it is. Tuli Pelotu. And he's the one that kind of works hard to make sure Mahomes can't get outside of him. But they waste 2 skill position players to set the edge to cut the field in half. Like, why are you cutting the field in half when you have a quarterback in Patrick Mahomes that can throw to anywhere on the field if you keep him in the pocket or around the pocket at least? You don't cut the field in half by designing him to roll out right and basically have a one-man route here. And that one-man route should never be open. They're banking on what is happening here is this guy's the flat defender. They're banking on the curl defender, which I was talking about earlier, kind of almost like falling for someone in the flat. That's not his responsibility. The flat defender's got it. And again, I'm not an expert. I know basic football. I try to, at least, and I could have things wrong when I'm talking about how the defense is looking at things. But to me, this is just clearly two routes get wasted by just kind of a poor play call. This was 2nd and 9 on the opening drive, and the Chiefs overcome it because 15 and 87 have a vintage connection. When I say vintage, it's it's not the most impressive thing ever, but what I do love about this, they overcome it on 3rd and 11 here. Yeah, 3rd and 11. Mahomes does get pressure. He steps up, and he just kind of is eyeing Kelsey the whole time. Obviously, defender falls down, and that allows Kelsey. But Kelsey settles into the space. And what I like about this play, again, this is a game after he had the drop in some people's eyes. I mean, it was a drop, but it was a hard catch to make. This certainly was. It was definitely a drop, though. I like the pressure in Mahomes' face, making this play still, stepping up in the pocket, realizes 91's about to be collapsing on it because he knows Caliendo's not going to hold that up. And so he just plants his feet and does what he can to just arm it out there. And Kelsey, is in a good position to not where, he's not running, before he catches the ball, kind of gets himself in position where he can bend down low and grab that. So, if you follow me on Twitter, I have been very, very, very complimentary of Travis Kelce's toughness or, effort, I guess, right, in this game, because he actually played, I'll just say it real quick, a cool little stat. Travis Kelce played 98.4% of the offensive snaps against the Chargers. If that sounds like a lot, it's because it is. Most of the time you get that number from the offensive line, the quarterback, and then, like a number one wideout, maybe one of the best guys. But Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are not playing 98% of the snaps. Travis Kelce is usually not playing 98% of the snaps. Actually, for a good part of this season, before the bye week, Travis Kelce, before Buffalo, I should say, Travis Kelce was playing 70% of the snaps, 75 at the high, sometimes in the 60s, and there were some blowout games in there, but these last 6 games, there have been 4 instances of at least 90% snap rate from Travis Kelce. And some of that it was Noah Gray getting hurt on that short week before Dallas. But you know what that tells me is Travis Kelce, first of all, hate to break any news. I almost would bet anything that he retires after this season. And to me, it should tell Chiefs Kingdom that he is leaving it all out there on the field for us. He really is. Like, no one is asking a 36-year-old to play almost every snap of a football game. You don't need to do that at the tight end position. Tight end is a position you usually have 3 or 4 guys on the field or on the roster that you can at least, hey, when it's pretty obvious run play or goal line situation, short yardage, at least we can put these guys in that are just going to be bodies, maybe be an even stronger blocker, potentially, when you're talking about just firing out and getting hands on someone than Kelsey in certain situations. Kelsey is just saying, nah, all me. And again, I know Noah Gray was hurt. This also is kind of an indictment on the Chiefs' investment in the tight end position. Potentially, Jared Wiley did not look ready in the opportunities he has gotten so far. But hey, you know what? I'm just gonna look at it as Travis Kelce is doing everything he can. He did everything he could to get this team back in a playoff situation. It is not his fault. It is just not. You want to talk about how the Houston game ended? That drive should not have even happened. It should not have been in that position for Travis Kelce to try to make a very tough catch between the defenders reaching behind him outside of his frame. 87 has done everything possible to get it done this year. So I don't know. I applaud Travis Kelce for, it seems like to me, going all out for one last year and not letting last year, where he admitted himself he wasn't his best. He admitted himself he was not the best he could have been last season. And we all saw it. And I think that's why, and hey, maybe, excuse me, maybe this is a situation where he realizes, shoot, I can keep playing. I really don't think so. I think it was more like he went out of his way and went all out to maybe make one last effort that he isn't willing to make anymore to be ready for this season. And talk about an effort that he may not be willing to make anymore. Travis Kelce realizing Mahomes scrambling and pretty much just kind of selling out. To be honest with you, when I first saw this play, I actually tweeted and deleted it. Some people saw it probably. I thought 43 laid him just because he did, like, when I kind of maybe just didn't look all the way through the play, he did kind of settle up here and not necessarily, sell out to tackle Mahomes necessarily. But it's also because he sees a big man coming, about to blow him up. And he said, and he has to, it's almost kind of natural to stop when Kelce has that much momentum. Better angle here. But, a big guy like that, again, just selling out. He's across the field. He's running a route that actually, initially is kind of breaking out, and he's just kind of finding space. It does kind of lead him inside, but you just love to see it, man. I really feel like Kelce, after last week, you could have seen that snap rate go down after last week, right? But, and again, if Mahomes, Mahomes got hurt, there's no reason Travis Kelce should be doing that anymore. I'll say that. Like, I hope he just plays as much as he would typically play, but he's been playing more than he would typically play lately is kind of my point. And with Mahomes hurt now, I don't think that's even, it would just make no sense for him to go all out or risk. I know he's retiring, but we're not going to the playoffs, so you're not risking, don't risk. Anyway, I'm assuming a lot with that, but we're going to get to the section of the there's a request line here on the AP Breakdown, apparently, that I didn't even ask for, but I am truly greatly appreciative for. If any of y'all ever have plays that pop up during the game, like my guy MV Pat Mahomes did on Twitter during the game, he tweeted me at 1:00 p.m. and said, request these 3 plays specifically, and this is the first one. And I'll use his words. He said, looked like Thornton was open. I give him credit that he has a keen eye to an extent. So Chargers going to load the line here, right? Load it up, make it look like they're really sending pressure, maybe think, oh, shoot, if I'm Mahomes, I have to get rid of the ball quick. I don't have the time maybe to get to one of the routes that are longer developing in the play here. First of all, the route concept is actually great here, where you get trips, you get one of the receivers kind of clear out for Worthy, right? Tyquan's clearing out for Worthy, and it does a trick. He's open. He seems to kind of just get a turf monster potentially, kind of just trip up, and it kind of sucks. It's just a way you'd like to see Mahomes set his feet a little more. Not that had anything to do with how the play resulted. It really felt like Worthy just fell. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I circle this strong safety here who comes into the middle, and you're going to see as the game wears on, they're basically rotating to this all the time. They're basically constantly getting someone into the middle of the field and not allowing Mahomes to feel comfortable going to them, or if he does go to them, blowing them up. But here, he kind of oversells, right? Where, he's already committed to coming all the way down here. And the safety over the top kind of as a one high safety, right? He's all the way on the other side of the hashes. If Mahomes drops back, kind of manages the pocket a little better, obviously buys time. He has at the pocket, you can buy time and find Tyquan here. Yeah, there's a big play here. So I think MB Pat Mahomes had a good point here where, again, I think this is the right throw. This is on 3rd and 8. And Worthy did get hurt on this play, but 3rd and 8, you do feel like pressure's coming. They're sending, or they're loading up the line. As you drop back, you can't necessarily bank on having the time, knowing that, because they could, as you're reading downfield, like you feel like you have the pocket, peripheral, but it might be hard. So anyway, I think first of all, set your feet a little more, Mahomes. There's no reason to be running into this ball. If the ball was inaccurate, that would be something I'd be pointing to and saying, why did he do that? The ball didn't seem to be inaccurate. Again, I think Worthy really just fell down. All that to say, we're heading to this next play. Another request. Again, MB Pat Mahomes, shout you out. This is circling this safety that is kind of banking on doubling Kelsey, and not doubling, but bracket coverage, right? Where this linebacker has the inside leverage to Kelsey. So really, this safety shouldn't really buy too hard inside. Like, he should really have good, strong outside leverage. There's no real reason Travis should be open on this play. It's kind of bad coverage on the guy I circle. Kelsey's open for a touchdown. And Mahomes just kind of loses, again, Kingsley's, and we'll see it from the end zone angle. Kingsley sort of gives way to pressure in the pocket that forces Mahomes to get uncomfortable, maybe lose his feet to make this throw a little easier. But actually, that's the thing. I mean, if he has his eyes in the right spot and does see Kelsey open, the thing is, I think he is always feeling like he's going to Rice here, which I don't blame him, because once the middle of the field vacates like it does so hard, right? Rice, could have just like a walk-in touchdown if he runs away from this guy good enough. But that's where, hey, I'm just breaking down plays individually, not to make any sort of big takeaway when I say any certain thing, but you just love to see Pat keep his pocket presence, make a throw with, good footwork, because good footwork allows you to make throws as you see them, right? If you see something, but you're not in the right position to throw, and you have to kind of change yourself to throw, like, it's not going to be there by the time you get there. And I think Pat knows that. So it's almost like his brain knows he can't make some throws as he's in a awkward position, but he still just isn't in the right position. I mean, this is like, hey, not never want to say stuff like this. I'll just say it like this. If you're like a high school quarterback, like training, there's always those like drills where like you drop back and all of a sudden, like, you have to move right. And then all of a sudden you kind of have to, sit, and then, kind of maybe move right, or, just kind of, or move right, move up, all that to say, like, this is kind of almost like one of those drills perfectly. And Pat fails it. Like, you don't want to have your feet, you don't want to be square to the line of scrimmage as a quarterback. You want your lead foot to be ready to throw downhill at any given time. He actually has his back foot downhill as he's throwing. Yeah. And again, like, it's hard to be like Mr. like, nitpick mechanics with Mahomes. Clearly he knows what he's doing. He's made a lot of plays without having picture perfect or, 6'5" white blonde hair mechanics. But it's just sometimes they help. And again, the main point here is just that Kelsey is the one who's open, and I think it would be nice if this was just an easy touchdown, like it probably should have been. And this was 2nd and goal. So 3rd and goal comes up after this, which we'll skip to. 3rd and goal. Here's this actually happens a couple times, and I'll highlight them both, but Chiefs have run this play in the red zone before. I've loved it. It's worked before, so this is nothing about, obviously there was and I do think there's predictability with the offense. I say it all the time, but this isn't one of those instances. I think this is just a good play call that I haven't really seen them bring out yet, so it makes sense that they bring it out in an important game where you're going to see number 43 here in the middle of the field. This is man coverage across the board, and so he has the running back man-to-man. Safeties are over the top. This is cover 2 man, right? So there's 2 safeties. They're going to help the man defenders, but everyone else is manned up. And what the Chiefs try to do to put, a man coverage defender in conflict and the help defender, they put both of them in conflict by this running back acting like he's just going to be the basic flat, kind of check down option, right? What I'm trying to say. Yeah. Like a safety valve option. He's just going to be kind of the flat. And so you have to respect the flat. You have to widen with the flat. And the safety, is going to kind of help with that, kind of just seeing the flow of what's happening, but then he cuts back and it's an angle route. And basically what they're banking on is who I just showed, number 43, getting so wide, trying to get all the way. And basically it looks like maybe he is switching responsibilities, which that's awesome. This is cool defense right here. Actually, this is why we do this. Because actually it does look like, as much as this just is a cover 2 man look, it actually looks like the guy that originally starts as a deep half safety gets communicated to saying, look, you have to pick him up if he goes all the way out there. And I have to become, look where he goes. He's basically the deep half safety helping with something coming back over here. That's cool defense. Shout out Chargers defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter. But basically they are reactive too, because as he calls that out, he also is still aware enough to see him come back on the angle route. And then boom, he does pick him back up in a man coverage, and look where this guy is. He's not running all the way inside. He's back to being a help defender. That's good defense. That's that's where, it is something to take note of, honestly, that the Chiefs have played some really good defenses when they've really needed to win. And I think that's almost where I kind of mentioned it earlier, how when this offense plays a top 15 defense, or just a defense with a really dynamic scheme like that, you just saw a very dynamic play call, or even just pass off, with the Chargers defenders and pass coverage. Anyone who can do anything close to that with some sort of talent seems to give the Chiefs fits. And when they play Washington and the Raiders and whoever else it was, I mean, Baltimore was terrible earlier this year on defense because of injury. That's when they were able to show some effectiveness as an offense. Not so much, in the last half of the season. So I will tell y'all, I'm gonna wrap this up here pretty soon. We do have, let's see, we don't have too much left going on, but I'm gonna hop on with Rocky on his beach season podcast again. If y'all listen to that, it's a wild ride, so just buckle up for that if you do join me. They're getting going here about 7:30, and so I'm going to be going on to their show right after I wrap up here. But here was the Xavier Worthy deep throw. This was a 3rd and 4 right before halftime. They end up kicking a field goal. What you're going to get is, again, what did I say earlier? Kind of a too high look, too high structure. Although this guy's coming right, he has the depth, right? They kind of it's not like they're trying to fool anybody. It's just too high kind of start. One guy rolls down, one guy becomes the deep high responsibility. With this, what you kind of see, in my opinion, which you get man coverage across the board. Mahomes recognizes that and gives Worthy a shot. But what you see here is that he is trying to help against Travis, and Travis actually gets him to, or I should say actually Pacheco really, to kind of clean up my language here. Pacheco kind of gets the help defender to play on the outside, right? Where he is picking up Pacheco, but I do think he kind of has this thought of, oh, I want to be helping at the sticks, right? This is 3rd and 4. If Kelce does break out at the sticks, boom, I'm right there, right? But Kelce breaks inside. And this middle of the field defender is, closing a window. But Mahomes has a pocket where if he buys just another second, he has Kelce in a window right here going across the middle. Boom, right here, right between those defenders. Between these defenders. He has a window. Instead, he throws it downfield. And I tweeted it at the time. As much as you can maybe say this is pass interference, I definitely think the one earlier against Tyquan Thornton was absolutely pass interference. But I think both, there's something true about when you have these small receivers that are not necessarily strong at the catch point or strong through physical coverage, you don't get those calls as much because they literally are not strong enough to make it look like they're being impeded from the ball. Like they literally are not strong enough to have the flag look obvious, if that makes sense. Like DK Metcalf's going for that ball, it's going to look so obvious when he is looking like, trying to fight off, trying to shrug a dude off his shoulders and going for the ball and flailing, because he actually can get through that, and make the guy's arms flail off and make it look obvious that he was grabbing onto him. That's what happens when you don't have, and I said DK Metcalf. I mean, that guy's a freaking freak. Excuse me. I did not. That was freaking. I said freaking. Don't FCC can't get me. This is not on FCC. All right, so let's get to this play. That was a sack later in the game. 3rd and 10. They actually attempt to run wasp here with Tyquan. You're gonna see Tyquan be the 3rd receiver here. Kelce is kind of almost a decoy here, where they want this deep safety, either safety, to be occupied. They want the deep safeties to be occupied. Now in a one high structure, there's only one of them, and so as he is keeping an eye on him, floating all the way to that side, gets all the way to the hash. Right, look how far over he gets before he realizes that Tyquan is actually breaking, back across. And it's wasp. I mean, this is what Tyreek ran in the Super Bowl against the Niners all those years back when. The problem, and it finally shows up. I mean, you almost forget that we have Chu Godric and Issa Poole playing offensive tackle during this game, because it just wasn't that much of an issue until it was. Because Mahomes kind of played like it was still Eric Fisher out there, like and like it was in Super Bowl 54. He just takes his time, starts drifting, as he starts to load up. Which again, the pocket in front of him wasn't clean at all. So I'm not saying he had anywhere to go, but he needs to be a little more. And maybe he just believes that Noah Gray is going to help out more here. Like maybe Noah Gray needs to stay in and help and secure that edge more. Maybe that is a little coaching point, something to throw out there. But anyway, they try to run wasp. It doesn't work because Mahomes gets sacked. Now here is what I was talking about with the play predictability. Chiefs getting a 4-by-1 formation where she's the isolated receiver. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm someone that has said, the Chiefs should run, need to get back to running slants with Rasheed. I mean, maybe this is just a really good play by the safety. But what other route was Rasheed going to run here? As soon as Mahomes looks his way, Tony Jefferson is a heat-seeking missile to the ball because he knows it's going to be a slant. You run a 4-by-1. You're banking on everyone being on the other side of the field, opening up, enough space to that side, for him to catch and run. All it takes is a safety with playing a little anticipation. Like no one should say this is on Mahomes for leaving him out to dry. If that is someone's take, I mean, maybe the ball needs to get there quicker. And that's just like, again, a timing issue. I don't know if I want to blame that on Mahomes. Like, yeah, the ball honestly probably needs to get there here so he can catch and brace for this. The ball is a little late, maybe. But I that's what people are talking about. Or that's what, and when I say, Bobby Stroop mentioned something on Twitter, I mean, Rashee Rice is a very one-dimensional receiver, and this sets him up. He in those situations they want to run a slant. I mean, they're not going to run a go ball. That's a waste of a route with Rashee Rice. They're like, we don't have a back shoulder fade in the playbook. Not maybe in the goal line now. Maybe every once in a while we did see it against the Raiders. Rashee scored on that, but not just between the 20s like this. It definitely is not in the playbook, I would say. And so I think this is one play that really sticks out as, again, when we play good defenses, they feel like they have an itch on what's coming, a step on what's coming, a step on the play, and it just makes everything a lot harder. And so I'm going to close out tonight with a very, very just kind of almost, and this is just, I mean, I've been sitting in this chair breaking down a pick just like this season, right, guys? Against Denver. It was 3rd and long. That game, the field goal would it have tied it? I might have to double check that, because this game it would have tied it too. So it might be the exact same situation. Play gets blown up, right? Pressure gets home. Kingsley kind of gets beat on an island against a very good passer. That's one thing I want to make clear. Kingsley had a few bad reps against Tuli Tuipulotu. That guy's a stud. Kind of an outside linebacker type. On pass downs, they can get creative with him. He plays inside here and just beats Kingsley with the spin. But play gets blown up. It's 3rd and 12 early in the 4th quarter. It's 16-13 is the score. The Chargers are up. Why throw this? Just why? I think I don't need to say much more. It's very similar. It's actually not even similar, because there was actually a shot in some world in Mahomes' head, a realistic shot against Denver at that one that turned into an interception. Not this. What was this ever going to turn into if the ball was staying in bounds? If he was trying to throw it away and for whatever reason it just got hung up or he didn't put enough on it, that is hopefully the reason. Because you don't throw this up to Kareem Hunt against a great linebacker, Diane Henley. He's proven to be a very good linebacker in the NFL. Just not a recipe for success. Not in the fourth quarter. But that's my breakdown tonight. I think the main lesson I want people to take away from what I'm talking about with the offense, the pass offense, specifically, is that something needs to change. I personally, I don't want to speak for any other member of Chiefs Kingdom, but I personally do trust that Andy Reid still has an innovative gene in him. There's innovate. He knows he has to innovate. That's what his whole career has been built off of, is staying ahead of the curve in the NFL, being innovative. I truly believe he has let loyalty mask innovate, or overtake innovation. He's been loyal to guys that he trusts, and I think this year exposed all of the warts that those guys he has trusted on the offensive coaching staff have. And I think it would really be beneficial for this team to have a refresh on the offensive coaching staff specifically. You guys, everyone can have their takes on the other coaches. Special teams could probably use maybe refresh somewhere too, but at the same time, this felt like a cursed season after 6 glorious years. It turned into a nightmare season this last Sunday. But as Chiefs fans, it gives us an opportunity to take a deep breath, realize what we've been able to witness, over the last 6-7 years, and be ready for a whole lot more. Catch your breath now, because as soon as Mahomes is back on the field, and with this embarrassing of a season, I have a feeling this team's going to be ready to support him and be ready to contend for another Super Bowl this year, or, as soon as possible, I should say. I don't know about 2026, guys. I'm gonna be honest. I think I'm gonna get on the 2027 train. 2026 is about retooling, as Andy said in his Monday press conference. Seeing how the retool goes. Strengthening that. I trust Spags. I like the defensive coaching staff. We might lose some of those guys because they're that good, like a Dave Merritt or a Joe Colin. But if we give Spags, some more talent on that defense, or the right guys, safety position, if those guys step up, get some actual effective pass rushers, which, now I'm rambling. This could be, we have a whole offseason to talk about all this, y'all. So thank you for joining again. I am the contributing editor of arrowheadpride.com. My name is Ron Kopp Jr. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. I will always be, active there. The site is fun nowadays. It's super active. We even have notifications now, so you can even see when someone is commenting or, replying to your comment on the site. At some point I might just say screw Twitter and just be an AP commenter, to get out my takes. So, think about that. But until next week, when we have kind of more of a long-term view when we're looking at the games moving forward, appreciate you joining, and I will catch you then. Go Chiefs.